Welcome down to the mat. Here we've got today's pen, the HongDian 960. This is in the black colour. There are a number of other finishes available though. Let's start by taking a walk through the body. So at the top, here we've got the HongDian logo. So we've got a little bit of decoration going around the side, and then what looks like to be a bird in flight. It's flat. Will the pen stand? Is it flat enough? Yeah, it's flat enough for the pen to stand on the end. I mean, why you would want to, I don't know, but you know, some people like to do different things. We've got a step there coming down in this gold plastic colour. Then we've got a ring, and on that ring is the clip. The clip, nice and springy. The cap itself seems to be tapering out till it gets to near the bottom of the clip. Then it's the same width, and I can feel with my finger there a change in the direction. The bottom of the cap, we've got this gold coloured ring. On there we've got HongDian. Then going around the back we have 960, and then back around to the front again. This gold coloured band, it feels like it's tapering down, then at the bottom there's a tiny little drop off to the body. The body, we go the same width all the way down. We've got another gold coloured ring at the end, and then we've got this end cap. It doesn't move, again flat. Well, you can stand it on it, and that's just all black. Very simple looking body, very simple looking pattern, very classic looking. It's a pen, you could quite happily pull it out at a business meeting. Let's take the cap off. So we go half, one, about 1.5 turns. That's not bad, is it? That comes off and it reveals the section and the nib. Now I like the nib on this pen. It's got a two-tone effect. So it's mainly gold coloured, but we've got this nice silver coloured decorative border. Underneath the breather hole, we've got 1997. Then we've got a logo under that. And then, unfortunately, I can't really read what's below that. I know, it sounds awful, doesn't it? But old man eyes, I'm afraid I'm a bit limited. And even taking a photo of it, I'm struggling to read it. The nib, number 6 size, so it's a nib you could change if you wanted to. We come into the section. It's a very short section. I would have liked that section a little bit longer. I'm being very picky here. The section though is comfy enough. It's nice and wide. My fingers rest at the bottom where there's this little tiny lip. Doesn't dig in. Unposted, I actually find this quite comfortable to use. Will it post? Yes, it will. Feels a bit clumsy. And then posted to me feels very back heavy, but my normal use of a pen is unposted. So virtually every time I post a pen, it feels back heavy. It does wobble a bit, so it's not a very strong poster, but it is doable. All in all, I like the look of it. I like the feel of it. Let's swap the view and we'll do some size comparisons. My standard pens, so we've got a Pilot Metropolitan and a Lamy Safari. To be honest, to my eye, they all look very much of the same length. Let's take the cap off and look at them unposted. Unposted, and with the tip of the nib lined up, the HongDian is a little bit shorter than the Metropolitan. It's a lot wider, and I find that adds comfort to the way I use it. If we line it up so the bottoms of the sections are now lined up rather than the nibs, that HongDian, you know, it looks even shorter, doesn't it? The HongDian's got a number 6 nib, we've got a number 5 Pilot nib here, and then we've got that standard Lamy nib there. All in all, I quite like it. Let's look at these posted. Posted, the HongDian, now the same length really as that Lamy Safari, but it doesn't post very well. Let's swap over and look at some pens in roughly the same price range. The pens I brought in, I've got a Kaweco Sport, yes I know it's a pocket pen, $34 Australian. The HongDian 960, that cost me $35 Australian. And the Wing Sung 699, that also was 35 Australian dollars. So this pen, it's not among the cheapest of the Chinese pens. It's getting more to that mid, and to be honest, towards the high end of the prices that I normally pay for a Chinese pen. Let's look at the Wing Sung and the HongDian unposted. Pointless showing you the Kaweco Sport unposted. It's a pocket pen. It's designed to be used posted. Here we are, two of the pens now unposted. Big difference really is nib size. We've got a tiny nib here on the Kaweco Sport. I think that's a number 5 size nib. Both the HongDian and the Wing Sung, they've got number 6 size nibs, but they're steel Chinese nibs. Let's pop the caps on all of these. With the caps on, the Kaweco Sport is a pocket pen. We expect it to be small. The HongDian noticeably shorter than the Wing Sung 699. But when you're writing with them, to be honest, I don't notice any size difference. Especially, remember, the Kaweco designed to be used posted. Let's swap over the view and we'll do some weights and measures. Here we've got the rule of measuring. In comes the pen. So with that cap on, we come in at 13.7 centimetres. Unposted, 12.1 centimetres. As say, you can possibly post it. I wouldn't recommend it. 16.6 centimetres. Widths, at the widest point, the body is 1.31 centimetres. The cap, again at the widest point, that comes in at 1.52 centimetres. The section goes from 1.06 up to 1.14. I like the section. It's a nice width on it. It feels really good when I'm using it. Let's get this out of the way and fetch in the scales of weighing. Here's the scales of weighing. Let's pop the pen on. So the full pen, 28 grams. The body, 16 grams. And then the cap, 12 grams. I actually quite like the weight of this. It's not too heavy, not too light. I find it's a pleasure to use this when I'm writing with it. Let's get this out of the way and we'll fetch in the notepad of testing. Here we've got the notepad of testing. Ayush paper, made in India. Very nice paper. It's 100 GSM and it's got a nice texture to it. And I personally like that because it adds to the tactileness when I'm writing. Highly recommend, if you can, get some of this paper, give it a try. This sits in A4 notebook, but I know they do A5, and I think there might be some other sizes as well. So let's do some writings. We've got here a HongDian 960. Now, for a long time, I used to write this as two separate words, but it's not. And I'm still not sure if it should be a capital D, but I always do that. If I'm wrong, please let me know. I'd rather get the right spelling. This has got a fine nib on it. And as I've already said, when I bought it, it was 35 Australian dollars. I think the price has gone up. I've had this pen well over a year now. The ink is by Robert Oster. And it's Ryde Green. This is a beauty with having a black coloured pen. I can put any ink I want in it. It doesn't matter. Any ink colour will go with it. Let's look at drying times. So we go media. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. Yeah, 30 seconds there, that's nice and dry. Now, this is an uncoated paper, so the ink does absorb a little bit into the paper. I'm going to move the mic down to the page so you can hear the pen writing. I do like the way this pen writes, especially on this paper where it's got a bit of texture. There's a really pleasant, nice feedback to it. It's not scratchy, it's not smooth, it's not rough. It just feels like you're writing. You can feel it coming out. And I really enjoy that. Is there any line variation? Well, there's no pressure. That's with a little bit of pressure. Slightly wider line. Could be more due to the fact it puts more ink down. There's no pressure. There's with pressure. None and with. None and with. Yes, you get slightly wider, but not really enough to say there's a lot of line variation in it. Flow. Keeps it really, really well. Now, one thing I forgot to show you earlier, this is a cartridge converter. There's only a little bit of ink left in this now. All metal fittings. Let's pop that back together. So what are my thoughts and my scores for the HongDian 960? Let's start with pen looks. I like this. It's classy, it's simple, it's elegant. It's a pen I'm quite happy to take anywhere. I like the two-tone nib. Again, just adds that little teeny bit of interest without being in your face. I think it's such a really nice, attractive looking pen. It's simple. And to be honest, yes, I've got some really flashy looking pens, but quite often the simple ones are the ones that really draw the attention. I'm going to give this 9 out of 10. Build quality, I've had no issues with this pen. It unscrews nicely, it works nicely, feels nice. Nib, maybe a lip on the stiff side, but build quality wise, no issues. Just going to give this a good standard 8 out of 10. Writing experience. Writes nicely. As I've said, the nib does feel a bit stiff to me. You're limited with nib options, and this isn't just HongDian, it's virtually all Chinese manufacturers. They tend to maybe focus more on extra fine and fine nibs, although I have noticed that there's a few mediums now and some fude options, but not a lot of options. Certainly when I bought this, the choice was fine or fine. I like the feedback with it. It writes well. We're getting a nice line. It's consistent. Whenever I write with this, I just take the cap off, start writing, and bang, it works straight away. 8 out of 10. Ink flow. We can see how well the ink's flowing. It goes all the way across this A4 page, no problem. The ink, we see a nice shade into it. So, looking at Robert, got quite there in the Ryde, in the green, in the G there, and Grumpy, we've got a real nice amount of shading coming through. Same on virtually every word. I like it. And it's not just this ink. Most inks that I've had in this pen, I see a nice amount of shading. Ink flow, do you know what? 9 out of 10. Comfort. Nice fit in the hand. I only use this unposted. Fits well. Nice wide section. I hold my pens down near the bottom of the section. This little lip does not dig into my fingers. I've used this for note-taking sessions where I've taken maybe 10, 15 pages. It still feels as comfy at the end as it did at the start. I really enjoy using this pen. It's such a pleasure to really feel and hold. 9 out of 10. Value for money. Always the difficult one for me. It's 35 Aussie dollars. That to me, for a Chinese pen, that's getting up towards the high end. It's a good quality pen. I've had no problems with it. It's a consistent and reliable writer. Again, as I've already said, take the cap off, it writes. It looks nice. It's a pen I can use anywhere. Feels nice, nice and comfortable. Nice tactile feel when I'm writing with it. I just have to get my head around that it's 35 Aussie dollars for a Chinese pen. And I know I may sound horrible saying this, but I struggle to justify that amount of money. I'm glad I've got the pen. I enjoy the pen. If I see another at a reasonable price, I will get another. I don't want you to think I'm saying don't buy this pen. It is nice, but $35, I've got to give this an 8 out of 10 for value for money. So that means the total score for the HongDian 960 with Robert Oster Ryde Green is 8.5 out of 10. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. What are your thoughts on the HongDian 960? Have you got one? What colour have you got it in? Please drop your comments down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.